Hi, I'm Dave from Clipper USA, and we're here today to show you how easy it is to string your own rackets on the Klippermate, America's #1 selling stringing machine. You know, if you're tired of the high cost of racket stringing, or the inconvenience of having someone do it, or maybe you're just not happy with the quality of the string jobs, watch how you can do this yourself with professional results in as little as 30 minutes. Now, before we start stringing, we'd like to talk to you briefly about the Klippermate. We make this machine here in our factory in Elgin, Illinois, where we've been manufacturing stringing machines since 1967. The Klippermate is the only stringing machine made in the USA. Now, the machine weighs almost 30 pounds, and as you can see, it has rubber feet on the bottom, so this can be used on any flat surface. Put it on a desk, use it on a table. We've even seen it used on bleachers next to a tennis court. Today we have it sitting on our optional machine stand that we manufacture. The stand has 7 different height adjustments, has a built-in tray for your tools. Again, this is something that's just an option, and we sell it separately at the website. Now, the machine's heavy enough that it will never tip over or slide around during the stringing process, but it's portable if you need to take it with to tournaments. And we do offer this optional carrying case. This allows you to put the machine inside without disassembling it. It has a separate compartment for the tools and strings, so if you're going to do a lot of traveling, this is something that might be handy to have. We back the machine up with 2 different guarantees. We have our unlimited lifetime guarantee that covers the entire parts and workmanship of the machine, the clamps, and the tools, no fine print. If there's ever something you're not happy with, we'll replace it no charge for as long as you own your machine. The second guarantee is to give you peace of mind. We have a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can go ahead and purchase the machine, use it for a whole month, string a number of rackets, and if you're not happy, you can return it for a refund, and we'll do that, no questions asked. Now, the machine comes completely assembled, so you don't have to put it together. It does include all the clamps and the tools. And by the way, our string clamps are made out of metal, not plastic. As we mentioned before, they're covered by the unlimited lifetime guarantee. There's nothing additional to buy. We'll include complete instructions and free unlimited technical support. And to get you started, we'll include samples of the most popular strings being used today. And we do carry a full line of name brand quality strings and grips, always at the lowest prices in the country to your door. Now, we're going to string an entire racket. We want you to see this process from start to finish so you can see how easy it is. So we're going to bring you in for a closer look. Let's get started. Now, keep in mind this will just be a general overview of stringing a racket. We go into much greater detail, of course, step by step in our instructions. And the first step is to mount the racket onto the machine. Now, you'll notice the machine easily adjusts for the length of the racket. This will come in for a squash or racquetball racket. They both move. Mid-sized tennis racket. This happens to be an oversized tennis racket, so we'll have this a little bit further out. Locate the center 2 holes of the racket. Those will line up with the post here at the top. The center 2 holes will line up with the post at the bottom. And then we take our frame plates, which have leather cushions, so you never have to worry about scratching or marring the surface of the racket frame. The plate comes down on top. The hand knob spins into place. Same thing at the bottom. We put our plate on, spin down the knob, and then you make sure that the 2 knobs here at the top are snug. At the bottom, you just pull out, make sure that that is tight. Tighten up your wing nuts at the bottom and just hand tighten. You never have to use pliers. And once those 4 are tight, you're good to go. And then you just reverse that simple process when you're done, ready to remove the racket at the end. Now, setting the tension is also simple. We have a rod here that has a scale from 90 pounds down to 20. There's an arrow on the face of the weight. And simply slide the weight down to the tension you desire. For this particular racket, we'll string it at 55 pounds, lock the knob in, and we're ready to go. You'll notice that as we string, we'll be rotating this weight arm down to a level position. That's what gives you your perfect tension. You can be slightly up or slightly down, but on each and every string you have the weight floating here. It'll give you the same exact tension on every string right to whatever you set it at. Now, the first string we're going to install is the main string. That's the vertical string. And for this particular racket, it calls for 20 feet. Now, at our website on the stringing pattern page, we have hundreds of rackets listed by brand and model, so you can look up the specifications, the string length, the pattern, the skip holes, whatever you need. Everything is there listed by brand and model. So we take the 2 ends of this 20-foot string, we put it in the center 2 holes at the bottom, and then the string comes up and goes out the center 2 holes at the top. And then we take the ends, make them even, because we want the 10 feet on each side. Bring the string through. And then to get started, we circle this string back into the next hole. And then we take one of our clamps. These are the clamps we mentioned before. And these clamps clamp onto 2 strings at the same time, so that'll snap into place. And we're ready to pull tension on our first string. So we feed the string out of the racket over to our string jaws. The string simply slides in between. And then we rotate the arm, bringing it down to where we have it at the level position that we talked about. A Klippermate exclusive is the start pin. This allows you to pull 1 string at a time rather than 2. This goes into the hole next to the string that you're pulling. We bring up our second clamp, and this will clamp onto the pin that it anchors to and onto the string that we're pulling. Bring the weight arm back up. The string comes out of the string jaws. Now we're ready to go in the other direction. Bring the string around through the jaws. Bring the weight arm down. It's level. And then we remove the pin. We only use it once. That's just to get us started. And these clamps will always hold on to the previously pulled string that they anchor to, and then the string that you're tensioning. And you'll find that we get into a pattern here where we lace it, tension it, and clamp it. So we just go into the next set of holes. Again, feeding it into the jaws. Now here we're a little bit low, which is good for you to see because we want to tighten up the string a little bit and come down a second time so you can see how that can be adjusted. Yeah, and we're going to give it a little bit more till we have it where it's level. Same thing, if it's too high, you just loosen the string up. And we bring the clamp from the top of the racket to the bottom. And follow our lacing, tensioning, and clamping. So into the next hole here. Now you don't string one total side of the racket. You'll alternate. We'll put in about 4 strings on one side, and then we'll put 4 in on the other. Using the same clamp, so it's going from the top to the bottom and back to the top and just snaps into place. You can see that this is very repetitious. So this will be our 4th string. Arm is level, clamp switches over. And now we'll start on the other side. This is to distribute the pressure on the racket a little bit better. So it's always best for the racket to go back and forth. So we'll get this side started the same way by loading the string into the string jaws. That's a little bit high, so we'll just back it up a little bit. And you'll get a feel when you work with the string as to how stretchy it is. We'll do 4 strings on this side. Now you'll notice that sometimes the weight will drop down after you've released the clamp. That's because the constant pull method of the drop weights are highly accurate. So if you take the clamp off and that drops a little bit, that's just keeping the string, it's always reading it and keeping the string at the right tension. So this will be the 4th string now on this side. Lacing, tensioning, and then clamping. So now we have 4 and 4, so now I'll put 2 in on this side, and then go back over and put 2 in on that side. And then 1 more. Okay, so now on this side we'll lace in our 5th and 6th string. Now as you get further out on the main strings, you come to a point where you need to skip holes. And we'll do that here in a second. You skip holes because you want the holes left open for crosses later. And it also keeps the spacing correct on the main strings. So for this particular racket, if you were to look it up on the stringing pattern page, we're skipping the 7th and the 9th hole. So that's where I'm at now. You just start at the center and count your way out, either at the top or at the bottom. So now I'm going to skip, if you were to zoom in, you'd see we're skipping the 7th hole at the bottom and here at the top. Keeps the spacing of the string proper, leaves a hole later for the cross string. There's a little bit high, so we just give ourselves a little more slack. Doesn't take much, a little adjustment goes a long way. And then we're skipping the 9th hole, leaving that open again. Now here at the end of the racket, this is the last string, we want to push our tension up a little bit. I'm going to go up about 3 pounds because the next step will be to tie it off. And you may lose a little bit. So now we're going to put a little added tension on this last string. And then before we tie off, we'll get a couple strings in on this side. This is the second to last string. Again, we're skipping the hole, number 7, just like we did on that side. Bring our tension back down to 55. Now this is the last string, so we want to build in a little bit of tension. So after I have it loaded here, I'll bring this back up to 58. Again, just so if you lose a little bit when you tie off, that's a little high, we'll give ourselves a little slack, get that level. Okay, now in our instructions we zoom in and show you close up, but to tie off, you'll look up the particular hole. I can tell here the larger grommet hole, which one to use. But in the instructions we'll have it listed as to which hole is the designated tie-off. And the string will come through the hole and then just simply wraps around the same main string in the same hole, comes up on one side and through the loop. Pull the tail with the pliers. And we do it again, come up, go around the string and through the loop. Pull the string with the pliers. And then we cut off the tail flush with the racket. Same thing on this side. Find the proper hole. Around the string and down through the loop. Pull that with the pliers. And then you always do it a second time down around the string through the loop. Pull with the pliers. Cut off flush. Remove our clamps. And that is the main string. Now the cross string takes about 18 feet. Again, looking that up on the stringing pattern page. And then you'll look up where to tie the hole. I can again tell by the larger grommet where that is. And we do the same knot we just did at the bottom, the 2 half-hitch knot. And here we'll pull it once with the pliers, but then after the tension's on the string, we'll come back and pull it again. So one end is tied off, and then the other end of the string we're going to go into those empty holes that we skipped. We left them open for the crosses, and now it comes time to weave. Now we find that weaving towards yourself is always the best way, a little bit quicker, and rather than use the end of the string, if you pull in a foot or two, you put your left hand on the bottom, your right hand on top, and then we start to weave. And it's over and under that we start, over, under, all the way across until we get to the hole, the same hole, corresponding hole on this side. String goes through. Now you can pull this through quickly, but you want to move it around. If you leave it in one place, the heat from the friction can actually notch your string, so you want to always keep it moving as you pull it through. And then when we start with the crosses, we will pull the first 2 at the same time. Again, we're hitting our empty holes. And we're doing it opposite now. If the string was over, it's going to be under this time. It's like a basket weave. Each string is alternate from the one before it. So over, under, all the way across. out through the hole. Again, we're pulling it, but we're keeping it moving. And now we're ready to pull tension. Same technique as on the main strings. We load it into the string jaws, bringing the weight arm down level. That's a little bit low, obviously, as it stretches out. So we take some slack away and bring it down a second time. And then also pull the tail of the knot. Cut that off flush. And then we're using our same clamps. The clamps now, the teeth come up in between the strings and snaps into place. The weight arm comes up. And we go back in the other direction, hitting all of the empty holes. Again, we pulled a couple feet into the racket. Left hand on the bottom, right hand on the top, and we just weave across. So over, under, all the way across the racket. Pulling it through quickly, but moving it. Loading it into the jaws. Arm goes level. And you want to try to keep the string as straight as possible so you have the right tension as you go along. And the teeth will come up, snaps into place. So the cross is like the main string, very repetitive. Weaving, tensioning, and clamping. And always opposite of the string before it. Now when you first get started, of course, you won't be weaving quite this quickly. It just comes from practice. Arms always level. Straighten out the strings as we go along. And put the clamp in place. Now we're using the machine on the stand as we mentioned before, but this could be used on any flat surface. So you can do this sitting down in your family room, put it on the cocktail table while you watch TV. But if you are standing, about waist height for weaving seems to be the most comfortable. And you'll notice for the cross strings we're only using one clamp. On the main strings we used both clamps as they work their way out from the middle. On the cross string you really just need that one clamp. And we're going through our weaving. Straightening as we go. And the more cross strings you put in, the tighter the string bed gets. So you'll slow down a little bit as you pull that string through. Again, always weaving towards yourself. A couple feet into the racket. And then you can weave a little bit and then pull the slack out. That's a technique that we use, where you don't have to go all the way across. The clamp just keeps alternating from left side to right side. see that it's very simple to get that weight arm level each time. If it's a firmer string, you load the string a little bit looser into the jaws, and if it's a string that has a lot of stretch to it, obviously when you bring the string over to the jaws, make it a little bit tighter. And we didn't want to fast forward or anything. We wanted to show this to you in real time, so you can see it. It takes about half an hour or so to string a racket. This will probably be, I didn't time it, but this may be a little bit less than half an hour and we're all done. We wanted you to see the entire process, so we didn't want to fade out and fade back in. On the crosses, you never skip any holes. Only on the main strings did we skip holes to leave room for the crosses. The crosses will hit every empty hole. You can hear that nice solid snap on the string from the metal clamp. It's important to hold the string properly so the tension stays true. And you can see the machine doesn't tip over or slide around as you string. It sits in one place. It's heavy enough to do that right on the rubber feet that we showed you are on the bottom. About 6 or so strings left. So here, let's just weave a few, pull the slack out, weave a few more. Helps you to get across the string bed easier and quicker. And you can see why after the first couple of rackets you really don't need your instructions anymore, because it's very basic, doing the same thing over and over again. So once you get started, even by the end of your very first racket, you'll notice that the process is getting easier for you. Now here at the bottom, you want to always look carefully to make sure you're continuing that over and under alternating. Every string should be different than the string before it. We have about 3 more strings to go. Again, it gets a little bit tighter to weave down here. And now we'll be up to where those skipped holes are again, like they were at the top. This is why we left them open when we installed the main strings. We have two more. It's a little harder to weave down here. And our very last string. Now, just like on the main strings, we want to push the tension up a little bit. So if we lose a little bit when we tie the knot, we've got that built in. Make sure the string's all the way through. Now we were a little high on that one, so now we give it a little more slack so we're level. Get our strings straight. And then here's where you work the clamp in, clamp that off, and then you'll look up again on the stringing pattern as to where to tie off. This particular racket comes up here to tie off. That's where the large grommet is. Same type of knot that we did at the on the main strings, where we come up on one side of the same cross string in the hole, down through the loop, pull that tail, do it again, go through the loop. And again, we'll show you that in detail in the instructions. Once that's pulled tight, trim your tail. You can straighten out the strings, take the clamp off. And there you have it. That's how easy it is to string your own racket. Well, now you've seen why tens of thousands of players over the past 30 years have successfully used their Klippermates to string their own rackets. As we mentioned before, we make the machines right here, so they're always in stock when you're ready. We hope you found today's video informative. Thanks for watching.